The Air Force of Zimbabwe is the Air Force of the Zimbabwe Defence Forces. It was known as the Rhodesian Air Force until 1980. The Air Force of Zimbabwe saw service in the Mozambican Civil War in 1985 and the Second Congo War of 1998–2001. History, formation and early days. The Rhodesian Air Force was reconstituted into the Air Force of Zimbabwe in 1980. The RHAF's 12 Hunter FGA Mk9s were joined by other aircraft in 1981, 1984 and in 1987, from Kenya and the British Royal Air Force. In 1981, the Air Force of Zimbabwe ordered 8 Hawk Mk60s, which were delivered in July 1982. On the night of July 25, 1982, a sabotage attack on Thornhill Air Base damaged 4 Hawks, 9 Hunters and a single FTB-337G. One Hawk was written off, another was repaired on site and the other 2 were returned to BAE for a rebuild. A follow-up order for 5 additional Hawks was completed in September 1992. The first supersonic interceptor operated by the Air Force was the F-7 Air Guard. 12 of the IIN and 2 variants were delivered in 1986. In 1993, a pair of O2s were delivered for anti-poaching patrols over Zimbabwe's national parks. 2 Cougar helicopters were reported to be in use in 1997. One was delivered in April 1995 and the second in September 1996. They were used for VIP duties. Second Congo War 1998–2003. The Second Congo War, also known as Colton War and the Great War of Africa, began in August 1998 in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and officially ended in July 2003 when the transitional government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo took power. Although hostilities are currently ongoing, Zimbabwe's well-trained military entered the war as the best-equipped side. In mid-August 1998, the AFZ deployed 5 or 6 F-7s, most of the C-212s, at least 4 Cessna 337G Lynx, and a dozen or more helicopters, including Alouettes, Bell 412s and Mi-35s, to Congo. All aircraft were flown by Zimbabwean pilots. After receiving an urgent shipment of spare Hawks, the AFZ apparently deployed some of them as well. At the start of the war, the Hawks had been reported to be in unflyable condition. Due to these circumstances, the AFZ contingent in the Congo in August and September 1998 consisted of flights from No. 3, No. 4, No. 5, No. 7 and No. 8 squadrons, while a flight from No. 2 squadron was to follow later. The No. 2 AFZ squadron deployed 12 Bala Hawk Mk60/60s, which were used as strike fighters and equipped with AIM-9B Sidewinder AAMs, Mk82 series bombs, and hunting BL-755 cluster bomber units, as well as launchers for unguided rockets. Only 6 or 7 F-7s from No. 5 Squadron were fully mission-capable. Prior to the war in Congo, Zimbabwe was in the middle of negotiations with China for 12 additional F-7s. For transport, the AFZ had the No. 3 Squadron, flying 12 CASA C-212 Aviocar and 6 Britain Norman BN-2A Islander light transports which had already seen heavy service, and were to see even more of this in Congo. Transport and liaison were also duties of the No. 7 Squadron, equipped with all copyright Rosparty LSA-316B Alouette IIIs, as well as of the No. 8 Squadron, equipped with Augusta Bell 412 SPs which were later armed with rocket launchers for this war. However, the latter unit would soon play a significant role in the war in DRC, as it was only recently equipped with the newest addition to the AFZ, 6 Mi-35 helicopters. The first AFZ Mi-35 crews were trained at Thornhill AB, in Gweru, by Russian instructors. CO of this unit was SQNLDR Mukotikwa. The first noted AFZ operation took place on August 26, 1998, where they destroyed a 5 km armored column of rebels as they were approaching Kinshasa. After defeating the invaders in Kinshasa, the Zimbabweans, in the belief that Kabila's government was already safe, suggested that there was no need to continue the war, and peace should be negotiated. This resulted in the reinforcement of rebel effort as well as the Rwandans and Ugandans rushing better-equipped units into the battle. The garrisons in eastern Congo that remained loyal to Kabila fell to rebel attacks. Then Ndjili Airport, in Kibansik Province, as well as Kitona, both held by Zimbabwean troops, were attacked simultaneously. In both cases the AFZ responded with fierce airstrikes. Rebels claim that up to 100 civilians were killed by their bombs. A series of fierce battles were fought between 4th and 13th September 1998, during which the Angolan mechanized forces were finally able to deploy their full firepower. The Chadian contingent was meanwhile deployed in NE Congo, where it participated in recapture of Loboutou. The AFZ and FAC were active in this area for several days, flying a number of strikes during which cluster bomb units were used. According to government reports, 45 rebels were killed and 19 captured in this battle. On September 13, when the Angolans attacked towards Kamina, the Zimbabweans found themselves under fierce attacks by thousands of rebels in the Mornino area. It was in this area that the AFZ suffered its first documented loss of this war. On September 4, the Aramaki SF-260 flown by SQNLDR Shirunga crashed in bad weather, killing the pilot. 9 days later, an Alouette 3 helicopter carrying several high-ranking officers, including Colonel Kufa and SQNLDR Vondler, was shot down by rebels in eastern central Congo. Kufa and Vondler were killed, while FLTSGT SAD was captured by RCD. In late October 1998, the Zimbabweans launched an offensive in SE Congo. The offensive was made possible owing to the deployment of additional foreign troops in Congo, including some 2,000 Namibians. This began with a series of airstrikes, partially flown by Bahawk Mk-60s of the No. 2 Squadron, newly deployed in Congo, and by F-7s of the No. 5 Squadron. These units first targeted airfields in Gbadolite, Dongo and Giamena, and then rebel and Rwandan communications and depots in the Kisangani area, on November 21. On the following day, the No. 2 Squadron launched a strike package of 6 aircraft, armed with Mk-82 bombs and Matra 155 rocket launchers for unguided rockets caliber 68 mm, which reached out far over central Congo. They deployed over Lake Tanganyika and attacked ferries used to transport Burundi troops and supplies into the war in Congo. According to Zimbabwean reports, their strike came as a complete surprise. With machine guns and light infantry weapons as the only means of air defense, 6 ferries were sunk and 600 Burundi and Rwandan troops killed. In a similar attack, on December 7, 1998, Zimbabwean planes or helicopters sank 2 rebel boats on Lake Tanganyika some 40 km north of Moba. In November 1998, it was reported that a $54 million shipment of helicopters, fighters and spotter aircraft had arrived in Zimbabwe to assist in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is unclear who received the delivered weapons. There were only very few reports about the fighting in the next few days, probably because the Congolese, Zimbabwean and Angolan governments found themselves under heavy pressure from Western powers because of this offensive. The few reports released from sources close to the rebels indicated Zimbabwean and Congolese attacks on Wuzu, Kazinj and towards Mornino, supported by T-62 tanks and heavy artillery. According to Zimbabwean reports, the Hawks and F-7s continued their operations and made additional attacks against Kalamai on November 24, and a new round of strikes against different airfields in eastern Congo 2 days late. After the attacks, the pilots of No. 5 Squadron claimed destruction of an unidentified In-12 transport on the ground. Current organizational structure: the AFZ is subdivided into the Administration Wing, the Engineering Wing, the Flying Wing, and the Regimental Wing. The Administration Wing supports equipment purchasing, recruitment, staff support, food supplies, and related functions. The Engineering Wing maintains and inspects aircraft and related equipment, and covers the School of Technical Training, a tertiary education institution responsible for training aircraft maintenance engineering technicians. The Training Institute is the only Federation aviation school in Africa. The flying wing handles aircrew personnel divided into 8 squadrons at 3 primary bases. It also covers the schools for flying and parachute training. The regimental wing covers those squadrons specially selected to guard other AFZ assets, such as personnel and installations and weapon activations. Current Air Force equipment. It is difficult to create a reasonable overview of the Air Force of Zimbabwe aircraft inventory since there are few credible sources of information documenting the subject on the Internet or in the open literature. Whatever sources were available at the time of editing are cited below, but as all sources do not completely agree with each other, there may be a margin of error in the following statistics. Future. Zimbabwe has been interested in MiG-29s in both the recent and more distant past. A $300 million+ order for a squadron was placed with Russia in the late 1980s but was cancelled in 1992. Negotiations to buy 14 MiG-29 SMTs from Russia were held again in 2004, but an order for Shundef C-1 fighters was apparently placed instead. See the military balance, 2005 to 2009 issues. The Zimbabwe Air Force is also sending its officers to attend PAF Combat Commanders School and Pakistan Army School of Army Air Defense each year for advanced training. Retired aircraft, Hawker Hunter FGA-9, around a dozen or so aircraft retired. Leftover from the Rhodesian era. BAC Canberra B2/T4, leftover from the Rhodesian era. De Havilland Vampire FB9/52T11/55, replaced by BAE Hawk 60. BAE Hawk, replaced by K-8 trainers after lack of spare parts, due to a British arms embargo that started in the year 2000, left these dozen or so remaining aircraft difficult to use. Douglas C-47 Dakota, 10 of these aircraft are currently in storage. AL-60F5 Trojan, left over from Rhodesian era. And 24 Coke, formerly operated. AS-532UL Cougar, 2 unmanned utility helicopters retired. Boeing 720-025, formerly operated by Air Zimbabwe. Cessna 206, formerly operated. Cessna 320C, formerly operated. Y-12 Panda, formerly operated. Xi'an MA-60, a small number formerly operated by Air Zimbabwe. Yakovlev Yak-40, formerly operated. Provost Mk-52, around 2 dozen of these armed trainer light attack aircraft retired from the Rhodesian era. Baron 95 C-55, 1 unmanned utility aircraft left over from the Rhodesian era. Augusta Bell 205A, around a dozen of these armed helicopters left over from the Rhodesian era actually sold in 1990. Douglas C-54 Skymaster, retired transport from the Rhodesian era. Armaments. Mk-82 bombs, Matra 155 a Euro 68mm rockets, Hunting BL-755 cluster bombs, CB-470 cluster bombs, PL-9, AIM-9B Sidewinder Place 7, PL-5. Rank structure. The AFZ's rank structure is similar to the RAF's rank structure from where, via the Rhodesian Air Force, its ranks were derived. Officers, in descending order, the AFZ officer ranks are, Air Chief Marshal, Air Marshal, Air Vice Marshal, Air Commodore, Group Captain, Wing Commander, Squadron Leader, Flight Lieutenant, Air Sub-Lieutenant, Officer Status, Cadet Officer, Airmen. In descending order, the AFZ Airman ranks are, Warrant Officer Class I, Master Technician, Warrant Officer Class II, Master Sergeant, Flight Sergeant, Sergeant, Corporal, Senior Aircraftman, Leading Aircraftman, Aircraft losses. Exact figures for the Air Force of Zimbabwe's aircraft losses have not been publicly published. It is believed 4 Hawks were lost, 3 F-7s and several helicopters. Michael Enslin, 21 years of age at the time, was shot down in a Banner Hawk at 1,000 feet while recovering from a dive. He survived for 5 days in the bush until he was rescued. He was the 3rd pilot to be shot down. SF-260MC flown by SQNLDR. Shirunga crashed in bad weather, killing the pilot. The pilot wing commander became disorientated at night while on the way to take part in a flypast at Laurent Kabila's funeral, and the pilot ejected. He was found alive in the jungle by Zimbabwean troops 5 days later. Notable incidents and accidents: the Air Force suffered a major setback on July 25, 1982 when 4 of their 8 ordered Hawks were damaged in a sabotage attack a few days after their arrival at Thornhill Air Base. Plane 602 was written off, Plane 601 was kept in Zimbabwe for repairs, whilst Planes 600 and 603 were shipped back to British Aerospace for repairs to airworthy status. More than 20 airspace intrusions were reported in the first 9 days of October 1992. The violations appeared to be in the vicinity of Thornhill Air Base, and the violators are believed to be South African transport planes on their way to Angola. February 1995, a Def 7 crashed near Lalapanzion after encountering some engine problems. FLT Lieutenant Sisengwi died in the plane crash. 21/January 22, 2001, an unnamed pilot that was also a wing commander flying a Def 7 became disorientated at night while on the way to take part in a flypast at Laurent Kabila's funeral. He could not land as a preceding jet had crash-landed and blocked the runway, so he ejected and was found alive in the jungle by Zimbabwean troops 5 days later. In 2005, a CASA C-212-200 Aviocar military transport plane came down during takeoff at the Harare International Airport, killing 2 pilots, a Eurowing commander Lysias Sharuka and Air Lieutenant Altini Salagwana. A helicopter came down in April of the same year moments after takeoff in Gok as the pilot tried to avoid telephone lines. All 4 on board survived. September 5, 2008, a K-8 Caraco Ram training jet came down near the Thornhill Air Base in the Midlands town of Gweru during a routine training sortie. On September 22, 2010, K-8 serial number 2021C piloted by Venom practicing for the Africa Aerospace and Defence 2010 display burst a tire on landing and rolled to the end of the runway at AFB Esterpoort, Cape Town. It took some time to get the runway open again, and aircraft in the air at the time diverted to Cape Town International Airport. Commanders: Air Marshal Norman Walsh, Air Marshal Azim Daud Potter, Air Marshal Josiah Tunjamirai, Air Marshal Perentieri. See also, Filda Air Base, List of Air Forces, References, Notes. Bibliography. External links: Air Force of Zimbabwe official site, description of AFZ, aircraft details, news report about AFZ groundings, news report mentioning new aircraft, AFZ Hawk Mk-60 displayed with sidewinders, AFZ Hawk's UFO interception, Zimbabwe's Integrated Air Defense System, Headquarters 2, contraction of Darwendale Tunnel, AFZ hangars in mountain ranges, Zimbabwe Defence Forces unofficial website.